This week in our Lenten series, I Want Jesus to Walk with Me, we are talking about how Jesus walks with us through loss and grief. To live is to experience loss. Loss is the act of being unable to keep or maintain something or someone. It is the state of being deprived of something or someone. Now, there are many forms of loss. Death, of course. Death of a loved one is a great loss. But also there is loss of dreams that never happen, loss of a job, loss of pets, loss of friendship. And then, of course, there is health issues and loss of health or loss of a long-term relationship, whether that be a friend or even sometimes a longtime acquaintance. There is loss of promotion and financial security. There's just plain loss from moving or graduating from high school or college. And then, of course, there's that retirement thing going on. And then also there's loss of freedoms. Grief is the natural response to loss. Grief is our body's way of responding to something that was valued or familiar. It is the emotion of suffering you feel when someone you love is taken away from you. Often the pain of loss can be overwhelming. You may experience all different kinds of emotions, from shock to anger, disbelief, guilt, and sometimes even just a malaise or numbness. Even subtle losses in life can trigger grief. There is a sense of something missing, whether what's missing is either good or bad. Feelings of grief can reveal themselves through many different ways, through tears or angry outbursts. Sometimes, though, it's much subtler than that. Maybe a story that you tell over and over again, or reminiscing. But sometimes it's a little more subtle than that even. There's maybe a feeling of confusion that you have, or wondering how your life has changed and will never be the same, and not being quite able to accept that. There is no timetable for grief. We experience grief in many different ways and on many different timetables. Here today, once again, with Jane Munkholm, and we're talking about loss and grief. So, Jane, you were talking to me a little bit about how you have dealt with the passing of your husband, and you were just about ready to tell me something about signs.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means for you.
Well, I think you get signs after a person has passed away. For instance, we have chipmunks all over up at the lake. I've never, ever seen a chipmunk in South St. Paul. I was at my apartment going out, and a chipmunk come up the stairs. And the same way when I was still at the house, all of it, Mervyn used to feed the squirrels down here. He'd pop popcorn for them. And all of a sudden there's a chipmunk. Never ever saw a chipmunk in our backyard. So I quickly got some peanuts and put them out there for her and put my chair on. I thought, I'm gonna watch, I'm sure that was a chipmunk. And it was. Never before. The same way when I lived at the apartment, I woke up at night and Mervyn was, this is after he passed away, he was coming in my bedroom. And I said, what are you doing here? And he had his face like that, pajamas on. He says, I think I'm having a stroke. I said, well, call 911. And that was the end of that dream. I never, ever dream. Never. Yep. And then we've seen cardinals. Darla's seen cardinals in her yard. Never saw them before. I saw cardinals because I have a tree right by my bedroom window. There are signs after a person passes away.
So
Debbie saw signs, Scott saw signs, Darla saw signs from after Kim passed away, all of us.
So when you say signs, and it's whether it be a cardinal or a chipmunk or whatever it is, and first of all, I have to say that I think it's incredibly funny that he popped popcorn for the squirrels. But
well, he does. I'd wake up in the morning and I could smell this popcorn. Yeah.
I'm just wondering what are those signs to you? What does that mean? What did it mean for you?
I think it means that they're doing okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So something that God just opens your eyes
Yes,
for you
yep.
to see as they're doing okay, everything's good.
That they're still with you. If you see those signs.
Okay.
And all of us in the family have seen signs. And I think that means that they're still with you.
So how do you feel like with your grief? Because you lost Mervyn so soon and then Kim so soon together.
Yeah.
Just wondering, how has it been with dealing with that great loss, a daughter and a husband all
Yeah.
in a very short amount of time?
Well, I mean, it's something you have to deal with. You can't change it. And you know that life goes on. And that's how I dealt with it. I mean, it was a horrible, horrible loss, of course. But it could have been a lot, we always think it could have been a lot worse. Mervyn was in the front porch, sitting in a lawn rocking chair. No chance. And Kim, it was horrible the last few months seeing her going downhill. And that's how we dealt, kind of. And the day she passed away, she had a hospital bed in the dining room. Debbie was on one side and me and Darla on the other side. And she had a tear in her eye, right here. Right here. I'll never ever forget it. And this Darla saw it too, so,
She hated to leave you guys.
Yep.
She knew where she was going,
Yeah.
but she didn't
Yeah,
want to leave.
No.
Yeah.
yeah. So.
And that's just it. So does your grief or loss, does it present itself, are you a person who cries? Are you a person who just accepts? It sounds like you do a lot of acceptance of saying this is
I
the
do
way
accept it, but as you see, I'm tearing up,
Sure.
and I do tear up when I talk about either one of them,
They're all around you and they're giving you hope.
Yeah,
So God's
yeah.
there. Well,
Yep.
thank you. Thank you for being willing to share
Yep.
with us. We are here today with Gary Novak, and we're talking about how Jesus walks with us through loss and through grief. So, Gary, what kind of losses have you experienced that you'd be willing to share?
Oh, I think probably my most recent example would be going through having a heart attack recently, and the grief of, I guess, the loss of invincibility that we all have. I think as young people, growing up through adulthood, we feel invincible, and this is something that's tough. I mean, it's something that you have to come to grips with and deal with it.
How did you deal with the aspect of grief, loss of invincibility?
Well, I think I dealt with it. I couldn't deal with it by myself. I dealt with it through others, by others who care and who may possibly have gone through it themselves. But through prayer, through relying on God's promises.
So you've told us a little bit about how it's been kind of difficult with your heart attack and how you're dealing with that loss. How do you react to the statement when people come up to you and say, it's time to get over it, when you're dealing with any kind of loss or grief?
Well, to be honest with you, the first thing I think of is, that's easy for you to say. And then I follow it with, so what can you do to help me?
So is that what you would find helpful when you're going through a difficult loss, conversation with others? What do you find helpful then? Because that obviously is not helpful. What is something that is helpful?
Well, I just think what's helpful is being with faithful family and friends, knowing that they know what you're going through, and just feeling surrounded by God's love through your faithful family and friends.
So when you talk about surrounded by God's love, how do you access that? I mean, what does that mean for you to say, I feel surrounded by God's love?
Well, I think it all comes down to believing in and focusing on God's promises. God's promises that we've learned through, through the scriptures and through the influence on faithful family and friends.
So, what is your expectation of God when you're going through a loss?
That's a tough one. The easy answer is I just don't expect that God is going to put me in a situation that with God's help I can't get through it. That God will not put me in a situation that I can't handle.
Okay. So is this where your hope comes in? Is it from that presence and that promise of God's?
Exactly, the promises of God.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing.